But today, I'm the greatest of all time. Thank you.
Never stop, I'll get it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top.
Yo, no, I ain't the type to give up. If I do something, man, I do it till I get what I want. I turn a business out of nothing into something I love. I got a poker face, but honestly, I'm not one to bluff. I flip a switch, never miss, man, I always stay up. Don't let them see you always have a plan to stay tough. This life ahead of you ain't easy, it was built to be rough. But that's what makes a personality, is tragedy, bruh. So keep your head on your shoulders. Now we ain't out here moving rocks, we out here moving boulders. Now we ain't getting posterized, we out here making posters. And we ain't got nothing to hide, we move forward like soldiers. You better wake up for the pay stub, or you'll pay up. Don't make love to the game, bruh, the game up. Change up, rearrange stuff to your greatness. Same us for the way up, play the game, bruh.
Never stop, I'll get it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top, yeah.
You know I'm always honest, there ain't no way I'll never stop it.
I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top,
I'm always flirting with pain, she like to hurt me and maim. I'm always working to change, but she's still lurking the same. I keep on building a dynasty while the haters be trying me, but they hate from inside.
All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Unscripted here on the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. This is our 2019 NBA Top 10 pick redraft. We did a 2018 one not too long ago, and this is our 2019 version. It's going to be, of course, pre-recorded since it is the holiday season. So this is actually going to be our New Year's edition, guys. This is coming out on January 1st of 2024, first show of the year. So we're going to be kicking off things in a big way. But we have some good talent on the screen, as always. Jay McLovin, what's going on, Jay?
Hey, I'm doing well. Hope everybody else is doing well, and Happy New Year to everybody.
Yeah, I'm about to say Happy New Year. Hope you guys had a good Christmas and are not celebrating too hard in the new year. Frankie C, or otherwise known as Frankie the Yankee, how you doing today, buddy? Looks like he has stepped away for a minute, so we'll get to Frankie in just a second.
I'm here.
There you go. He was just muted. What's up, Frankie?
Muted, man. My bad, man. I'm hungover as hell right now. You know, New Year's Eve and
I was like, he's predicting it, yeah.
And not just that, you know, I had my 31st birthday the other day, and it's insane, man. I'm just I got a hangover like hell. I need a Big Mac from McDonald's.
Okay, well you go get that Big Mac, all right? You've earned it for all your hard work. And, of course, our stat guy, Dustin Reese. Dustin, what's up, man?
Well, just, holiday season, some time off, and not time off because I never have time off, but,
I'm about to say, we are, we're glad to have you here. And hopefully, by the time, we'll talk about what we know you're going to that Packers game, Packers and Vikings, that you can check us out. And our thoughts on that in our Week 17 preview that has already been released at this point. So check us out over there. All right, so, guys, we did this before. This is the 2019 version of our NBA redraft. So, number one selection, are we keeping Zion Williamson, or are you guys going a different route? Jay, start things off. Who are you going with number one overall with the New Orleans Pelicans back in 2019?
Yeah, this is obviously, I think, a fairly easy one to pick. It's going to be Ja Morant. And this is really – it could have been close had Zion was able to stay healthy. But now that we know what Zion and his health is – Ja Morant, man, geez, you know what he did with Memphis? How he's transformed Memphis and made them a legit contender when he's on the court. What he could have done for New Orleans and that team in New Orleans at the point guard spot would have been crazy. So for that reason, at 22 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists a game, you know that Ja Morant is a superstar, and you got to believe that he's going to be your number one guy.
All right. Well said, Dustin Reese. So we keeping Zion? We're going Ja Morant or someone else potentially.
Honestly, I would say Ja Morant, but
Okay.
there's certain reasons why I'm not going to say him. I'm not going to get into it too much. Even with the health issues, I would still pick Zion Williamson number one because of two things. The potential is there for him to be one of the more dynamic and dominant players in this league when he can stay healthy. And at the time that this draft happened, knowing what Zion Williamson did in college, If you did not take him number 1 overall as a GM, you would have been fired. You could not pass up on his potential. And despite the injuries, the Pelicans still want to hold on to him because they know what his potential is. So without knowing how good of a player he can be, I would still take him number 1 just because we don't know what his ceiling is yet.
Okay. All right, Frankie, which route you going here? You going staying with Zion or going with Ja?
I like what both Jay and Dustin said. I'm a huge Zion fan. I like Zion when he was in Duke. But there's just one thing that I do not like what the NBA always does is he played 1 year in Duke and then went right into the NBA. I mean, he was injury prone in Duke during that 1 year that he was there. I mean, he got hurt at some point in that year with Duke. It just so happened that he came back at the right time for Duke and continued to put on the show that he was putting on. But college basketball is completely different from NBA, and we hardly even got a chance to see Zion. Like, this is the first time we're seeing Zion play from start to finish. Hopefully. But I'm not going to say Zion at number 1. I'm not going to say Ja Morant. I like Ja Morant number 2 going to Memphis. I'm going to have to say RJ Barrett. I think RJ Barrett should have won number 1. Yeah, I think he should have won number 1 to New Orleans because he was the main center point over there in Duke as well, and nobody was looking at him really well. They kept looking at Zion because of what he was doing, but nobody wanted to look at what RJ Barrett was doing. Now he's showing the NBA on the New York Knicks that he kind of was a face for Duke rather than Zion. I know RJ Barrett isn't as good as a shooter that he should be in the New York Knicks, but I do like RJ Barrett going to the New Orleans Pelicans. I feel like that would have been a good fit.
All right. For me, it's you guys all have really good points with this one. Jay saying that obviously Zion has not lived up to his potential, weight issues and other injuries and whatnot on the court, off the court. Dustin saying that, I mean, this guy was the most hyped prospect besides before, after LeBron, it was this guy. I mean, he was being compared to some of the greats after, as you guys said, 1 season of college. And it hasn't, I mean, I'm not saying he's been a bust, but I don't know if I would have picked him number 1 looking back at it all these years later. I think I would have to go with Ja. I get, the off-court issues and whatnot last season, and he just returned not too long ago. But I think just the way that he's been able to take over Memphis and help out that team and as quick as he has and just kind of be a game changer fairly healthy and fairly on the court for the most part, I would definitely go with Ja as my number 1 selection. All right, number 2, obviously we just mentioned them, Memphis Grizzlies selected Ja Morant. Jay, we'll just circle right back to you. Who would you have going number 2 in this spot?
Yeah, absolutely. Since I had Ja going number 1, this is where I think Memphis would have taken Zion at number 2. At 25 points a game, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. He is a beast, and he does have a hell of a lot of potential. And I think that Memphis, one is New Orleans is infamous with their food to put a lot of weight on you. And I'm not saying that Memphis barbecue can't put weight on you, but I do think that there's a little bit different culture out there in Memphis, especially with that coach. And I just think that he would have been a little bit more. I think he would have been a little bit more excited. I think he would have been a little bit more engaged had he gone to Memphis. So I'm going to go Zion at number 2 with Memphis.
All right. Dustin, since you had picked Zion going number 1, would you have Ja going number 2 here or someone else?
Someone else.
Oh, okay. Who's going to Memphis?
I'm going to go RJ Barrett to Memphis. If you remember that Duke team that year, you had Williamson, Barrett, Cam Reddish, Trey Jones, and there was one other player. You could make a case that this was the best college basketball team to not make it to the final. When you look at the talent that roster had, only to come up short in the Elite 8 that year. But RJ Barrett, like Frankie said, he was often very overlooked in that Duke lineup. He did lead Duke in scoring that year at 23.4 points. Zion was at 23.2. So, I mean, it was a horse apiece. But when Zion got hurt during the regular season, it was RJ Barrett that was the one that kind of stabilized that lineup, the one that carried that lineup up until Zion came back. And then when Zion came back, there was not a player that was more dominant over those 10 games that he came back, the ACC tournament, and then their Elite 8 run that year. There was no player that was more dominant than Zion, which is why I think he went number 1. But Barrett coming into the NCAA season was the number one prospect in the country. He was he was predicted to be what Zion ended up being for Duke that year, and he's just a good fit. I think he's a better fit with Memphis than he is with New York, so I would go RJ Barrett at 2.
All right, Frankie, since you took RJ Barrett as your number 1 overall selection, who's going number 2 to Memphis?
I'm keeping Ja at number 2. I think that was a perfect fit for Ja. He fits really well with Memphis, and I feel like that was a good culture between both teams. But by both teams, I mean by both Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies franchise. I really like what he has done in Memphis so far, and I'm a huge Ja Morant fan. Like I'm really huge on Ja Morant. So I feel like this is a really good fit for Ja Morant.
All right. Well, Sam, for me, I will go with RJ Barrett going number 2 to the Memphis Grizzlies in our redraft. All right, number 3 overall, the New York Knicks selected RJ Barrett. So Jay McLovin, since you have not selected him, do you have him staying in New York or someone else sliding in?
Yeah, I felt like, when they brought in Brunson, you saw how well that team started to liven up because they had somebody at that point guard that could spread out the team and be the field general. And I think that's what Darius Garland would have done for them. Obviously, he's over there with the Cavs now, but I think New York, if they'd have taken Darius Garland at 18 points, 2 rebounds, and 6 assists, I think Darius Garland could have done that for the Knicks and got them on point, or at least had somebody there that could have directed that team and got them on at least a little bit of an earlier start than where they are now. So for those reasons, I have Darius Garland going in at number 3 to New York.
All right, Dustin, who's your number 3 pick?
The one thing that the Knicks have lacked the last couple of years is consistent perimeter shooting. Jalen Brunson can do it, but he can't do it consistently. But outside of Jalen Brunson, you can't really tell me there's another person on that Knicks roster that you feel confident enough taking a 3-point shot and knocking it down consistently. So because of that, I would put Tyler Hero at number 3. Hero was one of those guys that the Miami Heat picked up, kind of like the similar thing of Duncan Robinson, where they got him because he was a good 3-point shooter. They put him on the bench, and within a year and a half, he became one of the best perimeter shooters in the NBA, moved into the starting lineup, and is kind of that do-everything type of player. He would be more of the face of the franchise in New York, and I think he would be a great addition to be paired with Jalen Brunson, the guy who likes to get to the rim and can open up the floor. You open up the floor and give Tyler Hero in the openings, he's going to knock down a lot of jumpers.
All right, Frankie, who do you have going number 3 overall to the New York Knicks?
I'm gonna put Zion Williamson there. I feel like he would be happy in New York. We all know that he wanted to go to New York. He was pissed off when he found out that the Pelicans ended up winning the draft lottery and getting number 1, knowing that he was gonna go to New Orleans. And we've seen his face when he got picked by New Orleans. He was not happy. And we all know, still to this day, I feel like New York never got that big man, and they still don't have that big man. I feel like Zion Williamson would have fit well in that big man role today. Right. Having Jalen Brunson there and Josh Hart, I feel like if they would have had Zion Williamson at the 5, that would have been a scary scenario right now.
Yeah. All right. Well said. For me, I am going to go with Zion as well, going to New York, where a lot of people wanted him and where he is still kind of linked in a way to potentially go there. So Zion is my number 3 pick, heading to New York. Number 4 overall, the Los Angeles Lakers. They selected DeAndre Hunter with their number 4 pick originally. So would you guys have DeAndre at number 4, Jay, or are you swapping them out?
Yeah, I'm going to swap them out. I think this is for the Lakers. I think this is where Tyler Hero goes. I think he would have been a good spot there for them at the guard spot at 17 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. I think Tyler Hero would have done extremely well. He averages now about 20-something points a game over there with the Miami Heat. He would have been the original AR-15. Not that he's number 15, but, obviously have Austin Reeves doing that over there for him right now. But I think Hero would have been a better version of Austin Reeves over there for the Lakers.
All right. Dustin, who do you have going to the Los Angeles Lakers?
I would put Kobe White at number 4. You look at what's the Lakers have kind of, after the Lakers got rid of Lonzo Ball, they kind of have been trying different point guards at the point guard position. They tried D'Angelo Russell. They've tried a lot of different options. and they really haven't had like a consistent, steady point guard, even though LeBron James is pretty much their point guard. And then you look at Kobe White this year in Chicago. He was given the keys to run the point guard for the Bulls this year. And this is the first time that he's actually being given a start and roll. The first time they've given him a chance to kind of lead the offense. And since Zach LaVine has gotten hurt, the Bulls are 8-3. Kobe White's averaging 26 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists in those 11 games. He's probably going to win Player of the Month for December. And he's just playing at a level that a lot of people expected he would play at once he got drafted. It's just that when the Bulls drafted him, there was other people that were in front of him for the positions that he played, like Zach LaVine and whoever the Bulls had at point guard when they drafted Kobe White. I can't even remember. But now that he's had that opportunity to start, he's showing how high of a value he is, and I think he would fit in very well with the Lakers just because he would be that stabilizer at point guard.
Okay. All right. Frankie, who's number 4?
I'm going to have to agree with Jay here. I was going to, and you guys know me, I'm a huge Laker fan. Tyler Hero would have been a perfect fit for the Lakers at this point. I like Tyler Hero.
Yeah.
I like him on the Miami Heat. And mind you, this is the 2019 draft. So Tyler Hero did make it to the NBA Finals in 2020 this season with the Miami Heat losing to the Lakers. I feel like he would have fit well in the shooting guard position next to Alex Caruso at the time running the point guard. Because I still, till this day, I love Alex Caruso. I love him on the Bulls, man. The man he's a dominant dog, man. I never met a bald man at 21, but I really like Tyler Hero coming to the Lakers. I like the fact what that guy said about Kobe White, but Tyler Hero for me.
All right. I'm also going to go Tyler Hero. Really good shooter, and I think the Lakers would have benefited from that, especially back in 2019. All right, number 5 overall pick was Darius Garland going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Jay McLovin, who do you have going number 5 overall since you've already selected Darius Garland?
Yeah, I had Jordan Poole going to the Cavaliers at 15 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. I felt like, he could have given him some height, some length. Kind of did exactly what he did for the Golden State Warriors. I felt like he could have brought that to the Cavaliers and gave them a little bit more defense, a little bit better shooting.
Okay. All right, Dustin, who's number 5 overall for you?
I would keep Darius Garland at number 5, mainly because he was brought in to be the 1-2 combo with Colin Sexton, and then obviously Colin Sexton was traded away eventually. So kind of Darius Garland is that piece that's supposed to make that offense go. Granted, he's been up and down with injuries the last couple of years, but when he's healthy, he is a very valuable point guard, and he does a great job of distributing the basketball just as well as he does with scoring the basketball.
All right, I got you there. Unfortunately, Frank had to head out before he got his pick in. But for me, I will stick with Darius Garland going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's been a solid player since he came to the league. And like I said, he fit really well there in Cleveland before they did trade him to where did he go? Utah, right?
Yeah, he's with Utah for part of that marketing.
Yes. I had that big
deal. Donovan Mitchell.
Yep. All right. So number 6 overall. Oh wow, the Phoenix Suns picked Jarrett Culver, a name I have not heard of since this draft. So Jay, who do you have going number 6, my friend?
Yeah, to the Suns, I had Keldon Johnson going over there to the Suns at 15, 5, and 2. I thought he could have done some good things over there with those guys, so I got Keldon Johnson.
Keldon Johnson, okay. All right, so Dustin, who would you have going overall number 6 to the Phoenix Suns at this point?
What is the biggest need that the Phoenix Suns haven't had the last couple of years?
Well, I don't know. You tell me.
They haven't had any bench depth. It's always been their starting 5, and then after that, you couldn't really say they had anybody on the bench that could come in and kind of fill that role that they needed. So I would put PJ Washington at number 6. He's been a very solid player with the Charlotte Hornets. He's averaging 13 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists this year, and he's been primarily a starter. But if you look at every year that he's been drafted, 12.2, 12.9, 10.3, 15.7, 13.3. So the guy's a very consistent scorer. He's come off the bench. He's been a starter, and I think he'd kind of be that 6th man type of player in Phoenix where you could use him as a starter or you could use him off the bench.
All right. For me, I will go with the Phoenix Suns selecting Kobe White, overall 6th overall. I think he, like I said, especially recently, he's looked really hot. He's been really good. So I would move him up to my number 6 overall selection out there, helping out Phoenix maybe a little bit earlier than some of their success at the moment. All right, number 7. We just mentioned Kobe White, the Chicago Bulls at number 7. Jay, who would you have them going with? Since you have not picked Kobe White, would you have him continuing to stay on the Bulls?
No, I actually have what's that dude's name? I hope I can say his name right. I'm gonna say Lug Dort.
Lou Dort.
Yeah, you can call him Lou Dort. However you want. The actor Zach can't say that first name. But no, I think he would have been good at the guard spot. You know, they've been kind of struggling at the guard spot. Even with what's his face, Lonzo Ball, who obviously still hasn't played in God knows how long. I think Dort would have given them some good stability. He would have been a good anchor for them at 13, 3-1 at that guard spot.
All right, Stack Guy, who would you have going to the Chicago Bulls, the team that you cover?
This is an interesting pick because this is kind of before the Bulls got kind of put in that transition mode where before they spent the money on Lonzo Ball, before they spent the money on DeMar DeRozan, and they brought in the pieces they needed.
Right.
But there were so many pieces that the Bulls needed at number 7. Like obviously Kobe White was at the time not the star player; he was a bench player. But Chicago still needs a consistent forward. And with that being said, I would go with Cam Johnson at this pick. Cam Johnson was part of the Brooklyn Nets trade last year that got Kevin Durant in the Phoenix, and he's been a very consistent player with the Brooklyn Nets, averaging 14 points, 5 rebounds, about 4 or 5 assists. He's not going to be like a star player, but he's going to be kind of that same type of player that Patrick Williams is, but he just does it on a more consistent level, so I would go with Cam Johnson.
Okay. For me, I will go with Jordan Poole, moving up in the draft, going number 7 overall. To the Chicago Bulls, and like I said, getting his scoring there primarily. All right, number 8, we had the Atlanta Hawks selecting Jackson Hayes at the time. Jay, who would you have in this redraft?
Yeah, this is where I'll put in small forward. He could even do the guard position if you need him to. RJ Barrett, 17, 5, and 2. So I would have given RJ Barrett to the Hawks, and he would have had good ball handling skills and could have really gave some depth to that Atlanta Hawks team.
All right, who is your number 8 overall selection, Dustin?
Christ, if RJ Barrett fell to you, you'd be really happy, wouldn't you?
I was about to say, I'd be fine with it. And also, this was a pick that got traded from New Orleans, I believe, or the Pelicans. But like I said, they didn't draft him. So who would you have?
This is where I would go with Dort.
Dort.
Yeah, this is where I would go with Dort. I think he would make a very nice 1-2 combo with Trae Young because Dort kind of does the opposite of what Trae Young does. Trae Young is more of your perimeter, fire-up three-pointers type of guy, where Dort's got a little bit more ball handling skills. He can get inside. He can get to the rim and do things that Trae Young tends not to be able to do. So I would go with Dort here to pair him with Trae Young.
Okay, yeah, I like that one. I also have Lou Dort as my pick because also that would have been a good 1-2 combo, as you mentioned before they. This is before obviously they got Murray from the Spurs, and I mean it was just kind of Trae's team, and that was it forever. So I would go with Lou Dort as well as my number 8 pick. All right, number 9 overall. Let me get back to the screen here. We had the Washington Wizards select Rui Hachimura. Jay McLovin, who would you have in this redraft?
Yeah, but this one I'm going with. This is where I would put Cam Johnson. 10, 3, and 1. I think Cam would have helped out the Wiz. The Wiz needed a lot of help at the time. Almost all the positions, really the Wiz have struggled at a lot of spots. And so I would go with Cam Johnson. I just think he's a dependable guy. And where they're drafting, I think he would have been available. So I would have probably gone with Cam at 10, 3, and 1.
All right, Dustin, who do you have going to the Washington Wizards in your redraft?
This is where I would go with Keldon Johnson. He's kind of that guard forward combo, but averaging 17 and 6 with the Spurs. He's kind of their primary option when Victor Wembanyama is struggling and some of those other guys. He's been kind of that consistent option. I think he would have been a good fit with Washington because they still had Bradley Beal then. They still had some talent, so you could have put him with a couple of talented players, and the Wizards would have been not necessarily a contender, but at least a playoff caliber team for at least a couple of years with Keldon there.
Yeah, I would also put Keldon Johnson here. Like you said, he's a solid piece. And the Wizards in 2019, was that when they had John Wall still, or was that his last?
That was when they had John Wall, but he was hurt.
Yeah, he was still. Oh yeah, because he was hurt for felt like
they had Russell Westbrook in 2019.
Oh my God, man! Talk about flashback.
with Bradley Beal.
Good grief. Yeah, I think Keldon Johnson would have been a reliable selection there at number 9. All right, guys, we made it number 10 overall pick in our final selection here in the 2019 NBA redraft. We have the Atlanta Hawks going with Cam Reddish, Jay McLovin. Who else would be going to the Hawks? Would you keep Cam Reddish? Go someone else.
Cam Reddish would not have been a bad spot to stay there, honestly. I also like Kevin Porter Jr. at 14, 4, and 4. I think Kevin Porter would have been a good spot.
All right, Kevin Porter, I will put you down here. All right, who would you have going number 10 to the Hawks, Dustin Reese?
I mean, Cam Reddish and Talen Horton-Tucker were good options just because of the perimeter shooting, but I'm kind of on the line with Jay with this one. I would go Kevin Porter Jr. at number 10, especially when you look at how he's kind of turned himself into one of the better players on that Houston Rockets team.
Yeah, for me, there's a lot of guys who could have went with this one, but I feel like since I have them redrafting with another guard, Lou Dort, I would have went with a big man. I would have had them rock with P.J. Washington to help out on their bench.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
I would have redrafted P.J. Washington in this role for my number 10 pick. So since we got a few minutes here, let's do a quick little recap of who all we've got for these teams. So we'll start off with Jay's redraft at number 1 overall. He had Ja Morant. Then he had Zion at 2, Darius Garland at 3, Tyler Hero at 4, Jordan Poole at 5, Keldon Johnson at 6, Lou Dort at 7, R.J. Barrett falling to 8, Cam Johnson at 9, and Kevin Porter Jr. at 10. For Dustin's team, he had the Zion Williamson staying at number 1, and then R.J. Barrett, Tyler Hero, Kobe White, Darius Garland, P.J. Washington, Cam Johnson, Lou Dort, Keldon Johnson, and finally number 10, Kevin Porter Jr. Now, I did notice, Dustin, you left out someone that we all picked.
Yep.
Where the heck is Ja Morant?
I honestly, and I'm going to be the only one in the world that says this, and I don't care, because my opinions on Ja Morant have not changed, and they're going to stay the way they have since the day he's been drafted. I would not have taken him in the first round.
The first round?
It has nothing to do with his skill set. It has to do with what he does off the court. The issues that he had last year on social media, putting his daughter in jeopardy because he's flashing a gun, putting his life in jeopardy because he's flashing a gun and doing the videos that he's doing. He's had this problem all the way going back to college. This is why he was at Murray State and he got his scholarship taken away from him at Kentucky, because this is the type of behavior he had when he was in high school going into college. And I would not put stock in a first-round pick when he's expected to be one of the leaders of my franchise. I would not want the leader of my franchise to have the past that Ja Morant had heading into that draft. He's just not worth it, in my opinion, the headaches that he could give. Because look what he gave them. Look at how many headaches he gave Memphis last year, and then getting suspended 25 games already this year for the same incident that he literally got suspended for 10 games last year, comes back for 3 games, does the same exact thing, and gets suspended again. You can't be putting your team in jeopardy when you're going to be a first-round pick, and to me, he's not worth a headache.
All right. That is a scorching hot take there.
Yeah.
Quick recap for my top 10. I had Ja Morant, followed by R.J. Barrett, Zion Williamson, Tyler Hero, Darius Garland, Kobe White, Jordan Poole, Lou Dort, number 8, Keldon Johnson at 9, and finally P.J. Washington rounding out my top 10 in this 2019 NBA redraft. So if you had to give just a real quick scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate this draft? Would you say it's great as a 10 or just kind of awful as a 1? Jay, real quick.
Yeah, at the current draft, the way it was drafted in 2019, I'd probably give it between a 5 and a 6.
Okay, all right. Dustin, what about you?
I'd honestly give it a 2.
Ooh.
Because if you look at the top 5,
if you
look at the top 5, 3 of those top 5 players have been hurt, or 2 of the top 5 have been hurt consistently.
Okay.
And Garland and Williamson.
All right.
And then Hunter really hasn't done much.
Yeah. All right. For me, I would go probably like a 4 or 5. Just you got obviously some good players in there, but for the most part, if you look at the bulk of this draft, it's just kind of mediocre.
Like the most talent in this draft, in this draft came between 7 and 20 realistically.
Right.
And then obviously 22 through 30.
Well, all right. Well, guys, I appreciate it as always. Dustin Reese, Jay McLovin, as always, appreciate your expertise. Guys, check us out on social media. Till then, enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to y'all again on another live episode. We'll see you soon.